What's up, you guys, and welcome to a whole new episode of Toni Approved. All right, you guys, so it has been forever since I dropped in and gave you guys a really good book review. The last book review I did actually was for The Meaning of Mariah Carey, which was Mariah Carey's memoirs. And yeah, I kind of started focusing on other topics when I was doing my videos, but I'm actually back now with another book review. And in fact, this video is going to consist of 6 books that I've recently read. I'm going to give you guys a few nuggets about each book that I actually have been taking into myself and using to apply to my life in order for me to continue to move forward. And I think that it'll actually help a lot of you all out there as well to, make yourselves better individuals. I'm starting to realize that I think the most important information is found in books, because I'm gaining so much knowledge that I've heard other places it's structured differently. When you're reading, you're able to actually receive the information, know exactly where the source is for the information for later reading if you need it, and they normally give you a step-by-step breakdown without all the extra emotions of actually talking to somebody about it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into my set of books. So the first book up for discussion is The Richest Man in Babylon. This is actually a finance book that I started reading because I wanted to raise my financial literacy and make sure that I am saving what I need to be saving for a rainy day. I don't expect to work a 9 to 5 forever, so I know I'm gonna have to know what to do with my money. And this book is actually a step-by-step book that I would advise anybody who is looking into saving money or wanting to know about how to gain your wealth to read. Babylon is actually supposed to be one of the richest cities in history, and this book was actually written back in 1926 and was updated in 2015. This book is a great finance book to help you learn how to not only save your money but create a budget, build your wealth, and create generational wealth. So the first nugget that they give are 7 steps to fatten a lean purse, which basically is 7 steps to get yourself out of being broke. 7 steps are: start thy purse to fattening, controlling your expenditures, making thy gold multiply, guard thy treasure from loss, make thy dwellings a profitable investment, ensure a future income, and increase thy ability to earn. Now, I know a lot of that was not in current English ways of speaking, but the book does, since it was updated, like I said, 2015, it does give you a clear breakdown of how to make sure that you're gaining your wealth and a clear understanding of what all of these steps are. Like creating a budget, it gives you a proper way to actually create a budget. I've actually heard a lot of this information before and didn't really know how to properly apply it, but the book definitely breaks down a step-by-step way of how to apply that for the reader to continue to gain their financial wealth. One of the negatives about reading a book, though, is that it talks about investments and how investments is actually the way into raising your a way into making more money, but it doesn't actually tell you how to find ways to invest. It gives you examples in the book, but like I said, the book was written a while ago, so the examples are kind of dated in the book. You really do have to do your own research on ways to invest in different companies that you want to invest in. I personally started with the stock market. After reading this book, I downloaded Robinhood and I started purchasing different stocks from different companies that I personally like. Not that I'm on here preaching financial advice, but what I personally did was got with someone who I at least knew more than I did about finances, and I was advised that if you were going to buy stock, to not only research the market to see which stocks are the best ones to purchase at this time, but also make sure that you're investing in companies that you actually believe in and companies that you would actually follow on a daily basis, because they will keep your interest when you're investing. That's something that you want to stay on top of. So you don't want to invest in a company that you really don't care about, because you're not even going to, or that you don't do business with as far as purchasing items from it, because then you run the risk of actually forgetting that you invested in the stock and not paying attention to what's going on in the company in the big scheme of things. One of the main things that you take away from this book is discipline. In order for you to raise your finances, you have to be extremely disciplined. That's where the budgeting comes in. That's where the savings comes in. That's where the research for your investments comes in. You got to be disciplined. The only way this is going to work is if you're disciplined, honestly. Something I had never really heard before was making work my best friend, and that is one of the key points that the book talks about that I actually took away from it. It's actually called The Luckiest Man in Babylon. That's the chapter that they discuss work in great detail, and it's actually my favorite chapter of the book. It basically talks about changing the way you think about working hard and completing tasks, because at the end of the day, work will always pay off. No matter how long it takes you to complete a task, no matter how much energy you put into it, no matter how tired the task is making you, eventually the task is going to pay off in some type of way because it's work. So that's why you have to think of work as being your best friend. They use a great example in the book about how there was this very rich man that was in Babylon. I don't remember his name, which is crazy, but there was this very rich man in Babylon, and he talked about how 20 years prior, when he was walking down this road, he saw these individuals working in the field, and he heard them complaining about working and saying that they didn't really like to work wasn't really their thing, and it wasn't something that they enjoyed. And that conversation always stuck with him. Later on, he was actually introduced to the thought process of making work his best friend, and he was thankful that he applied it, because he realized that for individuals who don't like to work, or people who don't like to work hard, will 9 times out of 10 be the same people that you will see doing the same type of work and in the same type of positions 10, 20 years down the line, when the individual who actually wanted to put in work to make their lives better or to move up the food chain in whatever their goals were has actually moved themselves up because their hard work has what? Paid off. Everyone's heard the whole terms of hard work pays off, and that's something that you just have to remember when you're saving and when you're working to save. They have a chapter in this book about how to become lucky, which is very interesting because he defines luck as preparation meeting opportunity. And that's in fact how you actually become lucky. You constantly prepare yourself for whatever it is that you want to receive in the world. And once you get the opportunity to actually go after it, because you've been so well prepared, you're able to walk into it and eventually accomplish your goals. And you would think about it like a competition, like a singing competition, for an example. Someone who blows away the judges on the very first song and everyone's just oh and ah and cannot believe your voice is so amazing. That person didn't just wake up the week before and say, oh, I think I want to be a singer, and started singing. No, they've actually putting a lot, 9 times out of 10, the individual has been singing for years, putting in a lot of practice, sacrifice, and dedication to that craft, i.e. preparation. So when the opportunity presented itself, i.e. the award show competition, they were able to shine and move forward and hopefully win. So that's how you become lucky. You just always stay prepared. Stay ready. Generational wealth is the final topic that I want to discuss from this book that they really talked about, and I love the way how they broke down how to create generational wealth. They basically said that if you follow these steps of how to create your own personal wealth, once you've hit your threshold of have enough money in your savings is making money for you, so you're technically making money in your sleep, and you have a lot of your expenditures as far as your house paid off, your car paid off, so you have a whole lot of money, and you can't die and take it with you, so of course you want to pass it on to the next generation. And one of the key points that this book discusses is that you don't just give your money to your kids just because they're your kids or they're a part of your line. You make sure that they know exactly what to do with the money, how to invest, how to grow their money, how to make sure that they're budgeting, how to make sure they're saving, so that that knowledge is passed down to the next individual and they won't squander your treasures. That's the worst thing to happen, is for you to work during your generation and become a multi-millionaire, and then your generational line is broken in 3 generations because they didn't know financial literacy outside of you. That's not what you're supposed to do. They actually say you're best off leaving your money to a charity or a good cause versus leaving it to your family, because eventually they're going to be back exactly where the point that you were instead of where you foresaw them to be. So that's why you want to make sure that that next generation knows what's in this book. I actually did read Conscious Capitalism. I would advise anybody who is thinking of starting a business to read this book, because